their idea of Matchbook and Matchbook's liquidity is several years old. That wasn't accommodating to traders. We changed our commission structure. We were found to have some AML failings in our processes, among other things, and we were suspended. We were down for 7 months.
So this morning I'm joined by Jesse May, Head of Strategy for Matchbook Exchange. I've got a big list of questions here from you guys, some good, some bad. And for those wondering, we will be asking about that previous license suspension issue that come up. All the timestamps will be in the description down below. If you've submitted a specific question, then you'll be able to find that there. So without further ado, Jesse, welcome.
Thanks, Caan. Nice to see you, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think people love these calls because you're probing for the inside scoop, see what's going on and what's going on in the future, and particularly reasons why they would potentially use these exchanges. So, kicking straight off there, then liquidity. I mean, my audience specifically, traders, match bettors, arbors. You'll be familiar with all of these different groups. They all want to know about liquidity. So currently, Betfair's the big dog. Always has been. How are you looking to grow liquidity going into the future for sharp bettors?
How have we been, and how have we been doing it? Okay, because liquidity is number one, number two, number three for us. It's what we believe that an exchange user, someone who wants to use an exchange, that's the main thing they want to take advantage of. And so, for us, we don't have our own market makers, right? We do not do internal seeding. So that doesn't excuse us from the obligation of making sure that our theory is every market that's going to be on Matchbook needs to have, competitive pricing and deep liquidity. And now, deep liquidity can mean one of two things, right? It can mean that it's there on the screen for you, or it can mean that there's price resistance, meaning that if you put up a competitive offer, you've got a very good chance of getting it matched. So the way we deal with that is we're out there, and we have been for a long time, looking for a great selection, a large group of market makers, people who are specialists, because it's hard. Right? It is very hard.
This is the problem, and I think a lot of people have appreciated that, because there's nothing worse than seeing a price going, yeah, I really want that price, and then finding slippage, stuff like that, and not being able to actually get your bets on. It's like you see it, but you can't touch it. It's the worst thing.
So we don't want to be a place, or in order to be the place where someone can come and get the best price and find the best liquidity, we also have to be a place where the best market makers in the business can monetize their model and be able to post that liquidity. Okay, and that's what we're focused on. What we've done in the last few years. So traditionally, Matchbook was very good in people who had a strong opinion, maybe not traders, but strong people with a strong opinion that wanted a good sizable bet, specifically maybe in the even money range where you'd find in the U.S. sports markets. But in the last few years, we have really focused on horse racing. We have absolutely focused on greyhound and our in-play markets, which historically were not that good, but now are very competitive, in-play soccer. So I think now there's a lot of people, this is my perception, that have their idea of Matchbook and Matchbook's liquidity is several years old, right? But if you get on there an hour before a UK race and look at our racing, we are deep, we are tight, and check out Odds Checker. We're bold in black.
Just to jump in there, yeah, I think that's fair, and I'm actually in that bracket too. I'm guilty of that, and I think we've got some other questions which we'll come on to in a moment, but maybe they are slightly older views. But particularly the commission structure and stuff like that has put people off. And I probably have got a dated view on Matchbook. I don't use it myself. I've got an account. So that's fair. So I guess people need to.
Well, yeah. So Matchbook wasn't historically a place where, because of that commission structure, which used to be transactional as standard, charge on every bet, that wasn't accommodating to traders. We changed our commission structure. We are net win in line with the other exchanges now. We're 2% standard, but 0%, for 30 days for any new customer, especially if you put in like the Geeks Toy bonus code. We've also changed our odds ladder. It didn't used to be compatible with the other exchanges. Big pain point for traders. Now our odds ladder is compatible.
So what you're saying to me is Matchbook's looking to sort of stick it to Betfair and take them on sort of kind of like maybe not equal terms, but you're so as I understand it now, you're 2% if you're in the UK net commission, and is it 4% on the rest of the world outside? There's a few other different provinces. Is that right?
Right, correct, for standard. Yep.
And then you've just mentioned it there. I've seen this recently, but So currently, Geekstoy users, new and old, but the older ones would need to contact the customer support, can get 0% for 30 days.
And Geeks Toy has been overhauled in terms of the integration with Matchbook. So my understanding is that now it operates on the exact same level that it would on another exchange. Let us know if that's true.
Sure, but one of the other questions I had from people here actually was, is there plans to add additional API software products? I know maybe, I think it was maybe BetAngel said before that they wouldn't really add it, but are you looking to add more and more API providers and go more towards the trading demographic then? Is that what you're telling me?
We'd like to, and specifically, you said, are we trying to stick it to Betfair? For us, it's not really about being better than Betfair. It's about being really good at the things that an exchange user wants most.
Well, the exchange users want somebody to stick it to Betfair in a way because they are fed up.
Here's what I think an exchange user wants, right? What we believe in exchange, we believe it best price, open access, and deep liquidity, and also like you say, integration with different products. That's what we think. Is that correct? Is that what?
No, well, I mean, they are the big three, yeah. But
so that's our intention, right? That's our intention. Are we there? Completely no, but we are closer than we've ever been, and that's where we want to go. We're not a sports book. We're not looking to be a sports book. We're looking to, we believe in the potential for what an exchange can be.
Sure, and that pushes me to another question that was actually there, because a couple of people said, is Matchbook a low like a low commission sports book, putting up the prices themselves? And I mean, is there any more you want to add to that, because you've obviously seen them questions as well?
Well, we're not. We don't do any internal seating, right? We have what we want to do, and we're not putting ourselves in a paradigm where we're looking at dictating who can win on the exchange, right? What we're trying to dictate is the rules of engagement that let everybody have a fair battle for who's going to win.
Okay, so surely your third party companies provide some liquidity to the exchange, right?
We have a large group of third-party market makers, and we're always looking to add more. And they're very important to us, because that is the underpinning of how you get liquidity.
Oh no, I get that, and it's a really tough job. I appreciate that.
But no, we don't. We're not trying to be. We're not putting ourselves in a position where we're incentivized by they have to win, right?
Right.
What we want to do is put them in a position where the liquidity is there, because that's how we provide the service to the rest of our customers.
Okay, so just to push back a little on that, there was one question there, and I mean, this is the internet, so I don't know, who said it, whatever. But they did say there as well that they believed that Matchbook had kicked people off for beating the seeding money. Is that just categorically not true? Then is that?
Okay, like kickoff. I mean, I think we've probably closed, let's say, 20 accounts in the last year. What we're looking for, and what is, let's say, destructive behavior that hurts the exchange, trap betting, right? Market manipulation, fast picture, and the overwhelming majority of people who we've closed down have fallen into those categories. We're not looking specifically at P&L. When we look at exchange users, what we're looking at is the give and take, right? Because for us, there's putting liquidity into an exchange, and there's taking liquidity out. And the first one is, because fewer people do it, is more valuable overall to the exchange, and something we want to incentivize. And if someone is only a taker, and is a little bit destructive, then we're going to have a conversation with them about their behavior, or try and find an accommodation where they're contributing fairly to the ecosystem. Right?
No, okay, yeah.
Cutting someone off for winning, that is not our intent. That is not our MO. If we get it wrong sometimes,
Yeah, I get it. But if it's somebody sort of courtsiding in Venezuela for some low level, and they're just sucking up everything, that puts them in a bit of a different bracket, right? Because they're just
right. I mean,
I get that. Yeah.
It's quick. It's fast. There's a lot of, let's say, skullduggery that could go on, and we have to make sure that it's a fair playing field, or as fair as can possibly be.
No, I do get that, and I think when a lot of people sit back and think about that, they actually understand that and respect that to a certain level too, as long as it doesn't venture into those areas. Because I think for the average viewer, maybe most of the people watching this may be aware, but that's not particularly fair or useful to anyone if you've got somebody just doing that to you.
It wouldn't be in our interest to just be kicking off people for winning, right? Because we probably have, I think a higher percentage of either professional gamblers or people who use the exchange as part of a wider betting strategy than any other, operator in the industry. We know that those are the people who want to take advantage of an exchange. So we have to find a way to accommodate them.
No, no, I get that totally. I guess that's probably the perfect segue to look more at the commissions there. So commissions change quite a lot. Like I say, I've been out the loop a little bit because I've not used Matchbook. Just to update everybody, we've got net commission 2% in the UK, 4% in the rest of the world, but it's not that old structure that some people actually commented about it, and I thought, yeah, you've commented and you've not seen the recent updates because previously it was on per bet basis.
Right, for a long time, and there were reasons for that, based on the kind of customers that we were probably going after in the early days. But we know that people want net win, and that's what we're putting in. And look, we do have different commission rates for different people depending on their behavior. And as always, as I said before, we're looking at what is a person's behavior in the exchange. How are they contributing to the ecosystem? Because it takes all kinds, right? You need every single kind of user in an exchange ecosystem to make it thrive. Even
when you look at it logically, I mean, come on, let's be honest here. Call a spade a spade. Not every customer is exactly the same. They don't offer the same amount, so therefore they're not going to be on exactly the same rate. Which
some
brings
people
me.
like to take positions. Some people like to trade. I mean,
Some
right?
are
There's
being
really different strategies.
so. Following off the back of that, then the extra charges. So that previously there was is it 60% lifetime, $20,000? Is that still the same?
You're talking about the premium charge. We have premium charge as an option. A lever if we need to use it. It's used very seldom. Okay, it's not an automatic come in at a certain level because it has more to do with the behavior. We do not charge retroactively. Absolutely not. No retroactive API charges. No retroactive premium charges, no retroactive commission charges. So if there is a problem, we're going to reach out to the customer. We're very personal and talk about their behavior before anything happens. And that, as I said, it's as small a percentage as can be. Right.
Sure. Well, I mean, premium charge is very similar on all exchanges. Like it affects a small amount of people. But the 20K lifetime, is that a threshold where you sort of have a chat or it comes in?
Probably at that level, we have a look. Right. Not necessarily. And, that's just to make sure that everything is going on. But I'd say, as I said, even a small percentage of people who reach that are going to get a premium charge because I think on the whole, most people's behavior is quite positive for an exchange.
Okay, well that sounds relatively promising. Moving swiftly on to the license suspension. Right now, I think it's probably best that you just explain it because I've looked around. I see various different things. There was news articles at the time. It was a couple of years ago now. That probably hurt you guys.
It's still very fresh in my mind because it was a big thing and it hurt. So we were found, and look, everyone knows what's been happening in the industry. We were found to have some AML failings in our processes, among other things, and we were suspended. We were down for 7 months. To us, we had to undergo an enormous transformation in order to get that suspension lifted. Not just in process, not just in the way we run our company, but in our attitude. We want to be compliant. And what we had to do is we had to really make a commitment as to whether we wanted to be back in the UK market, in the UK regulated market. And we do. It is the most important thing to us because we believe that there are massive benefits for being in a regulated market, that an exchange needs to be the best. Customer protection,
I was going to say, yeah. So you've increased your customer protection, right? You're now high, is it?
Right. I mean, now historically, Matchbook has always paid every customer. Even when we were down for 7 months, everybody got paid right away. But, we know 90% of the people in the operators industry don't have high funds protection, but we wanted to be part of the 10% that do because our customers want it. Right. And so we got that. We got high funds protection. We're an independent company. We're privately owned. We're small. So I can see why that kind of security is important to a customer, and we want to be there.
Yeah, I'm guessing off the back of that, you probably lost a lot of lot of custom, and it's probably hard.
We did, and it's still been a struggle back, but we're focused on being here. We're focused on being here in a long time. We're focused on being fully compliant with the regulations in order to be able to give our customers the advantage, the confidence to bet with us. So, um, the way we handle those regulations, right, and the way we process people through them, I'd like to say we are a little bit different, specifically because we're not a sports book, we're an exchange, we're independent, we have a small team, right? So we can be very personal, and we understand that people have different situations. If you're someone whose source of wealth comes from other gambling winnings, if you're a professional gambler, we understand those situations and are trying to help people, um, understand what we need to be comfortable with them in order for them to be able to trade on the exchange. Because we're only interested in long-term customers. We're a high volume, low margin, right? We don't really benefit from a dump and run customer. We need people to be complying with the regulations. We need them to be able to show affordability, that they're responsible, and then they can take advantage of what we have to offer, which we think is there.
Yeah, well, look, affordability, source of wealth, all that sort of stuff. That's like the hot potato at the moment. Everybody's talking
It
about
really
it. Yeah,
is.
we've got the gambling review going on, and there was so many questions about that, and I've sort of consolidated it into about like three or four here. So you've sort of brushed on it a bit there, but if people are experiencing problems with so you've got match betters, you've got arbors, you've got people betting between different platforms. Are you saying that like there's a place that they can reach out if they've got issues with that? Because I think a lot of people are frustrated right now with regards to Matchbook. I mean, obviously, like
Yeah, well, our CS team was nominated for best in the industry last year. We have a trust pilot rating of 4.6. So I think some people are having good experiences, and our customer service team, right? Everyone is focused on the exchange. They know how to talk to an exchange user. Hearing that someone's a match better, not going to be a surprise to them. Hear that someone's a professional gambler, not a surprise. That they're hedging, all those kind of things. So we're attentive to them. But in terms of, are we easier? No, you're going to get the same questions from us that you should be being asked at every other operator in the industry. The only difference is that there's someone there, personal, to reach out, to help you, talk you through, to make you comfortable with it, to explain, to understand about your situation, and hopefully, to get to a place where we can all be comfortable with you being a customer.
okay, sure. So one of the questions here specifically was how are they dealing with affordability checks, in particular using gambling winnings as proof of affordability. Now, I've had a lot, as you'd expect, a lot of people have contacted me about this, not just with Match, but with other exchanges, and they're like, I've had one case guy was like ripping his hair out, going, I've been a long-term customer, I'm on a lower base rate commission, they've had heaps off of me, I've made like 80 grand in the last year, and still they won't accept my gambling winnings as my, source of wealth.
I know that's going on. All I can say is that we definitely have a lot of people who have gotten through and been able to be comfortable with those kind of situations. So every case is specific to the individual. We want to make it personal and talk with you about what we need, why we need it, how we're going to deal with your personal information, make you comfortable with it. I cannot promise, I can't make a promise that, okay, yep, it's going to be fine. But I will say that we need to be able to get people through, because we know it's the real world. This is what people use an exchange for. These are who our customers are.
Is this it's more of a regulatory thing then, I guess. So gambling winnings are just, they're flat not accepted, generally speaking.
Uh, I I don't know I don't believe that's true, but I don't want to be specific on that. I do know that we have customers who use gambling winnings as a source of income, and if it's documented in the right way and we can get comfortable, then that is absolutely fine. Uh,
And
but look, call up CS, please, and ask them and talk with it. We've got a lot of compliance agents. They're willing to reach out and talk it through with you.
no,
So
I get it from both sides of the fence, because I mean, look, you can't have it both ways. People get to make money through gambling and they don't have to declare it to HMRC, but then they can't turn around and say this is my income when they're not.
I don't want to comment on the specifics on the threshold the rules are applied. We are going to follow them. We want to be here in the UKGC. But at the same time, yes, we understand where people are coming from, and we believe that someone who's using the exchange to hedge off, other bets, that is responsible and that is a decent strategy. We know that a lot of people make a living from gambling. We know that that's the fact. That's who we've been for a long time, right?
Sure.
We're
So
working with
you used the word threshold there as well, and actually one of the questions was, is there a certain threshold that triggers affordability? Like, I think it's hard because obviously the specifics and the arbitrary values and all that kind of stuff. But I think what people are sort of searching for a little bit is just a bit of clarity on, when am I going to face needing to put forward these checks? Because if I know it's $1,000, then I'll go up to the, or I can at least expect it. I know where I am. That's what it is.
I think, when you join as a customer and when you start, we want to know from you what your intentions are, what your behavior is like, what you expect, in order so in advance we can. Here's the worst experience, right? The worst experience is when someone comes in, they're cruising along, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden maybe they have a big losing day or they've had a big winning day. They need to get a big bet down suddenly for whatever reason, and bam, they get stopped up. Now, that's bad because it should have been taken care of in advance, right? It should have been talked through. Is this what might happen? Is this what you might intend? In that case, let's have a look. Let's make sure you're good to go.
I guess it changes the conversation quite a lot, because I've also had people reach out. You may have seen some of the exposing videos on YouTube I've got, and people reach out after the fact and say, "Oh, I've lost X amount over so many years. Can I now put my hand up and say I've got a problem and therefore I'll get my money back?" So, but if you have that conversation in advance and you say, "Look, I'm Arbin and I'm expecting to turn over a lot of money," then what you're saying is it can, although it might not change everything, it would definitely change the perception on your view on that particular customer.
It's part of what we need to do, which is get comfortable with whatever your betting strategy is, that you can afford it.
Yeah, sure. I seen you may have seen the Dave Neverson. It was on Racing TV yesterday, I think it was, and he said that he had a 7-fold accumulator. The first 6 legs came in, and then I don't think it was Matchbook from what he was saying, but he went to try and lay off the liability on the exchange, which really is being responsible, and he was stopped halfway through that process. But the horses were running tricky situation, nightmares.
That's a horrible experience, and probably in that customer's head. And if I were about to say, "Oh, they forced me to gamble," when I was trying to do the exact opposite. But why it happened, and from our point of view, we don't want those surprises. We don't want the customer to be snuck up on with that kind of thing. As soon as we have any indication that we might need that kind of information from you, we're going to reach out and try and get it taken care of before we get to a place where there's a negative experience and then it spirals downwards.
Okay.
Is it going to work 100% of the time? Come on.
Well, no, I know there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. So one here is, what's your take on single customer view? How can you apply it to the exchange without liquidity suffering? Bit of a heavy question there, but I think it's something that's on everyone's mind.
No, I don't know the exact details of single customer view, but what I think is that this could be a spot where actually being regulated helps, because of the GDPR, which is a law and is put there to protect the personal details and the sharing of personal details. Now, from Matchbook's point of view, we don't have any interest in anything other than making our customers long-term Matchbook customers. We're not owned by a consortium. We're not a sports book. We got nothing but the exchange. So we're not doing anything with your personal details or sharing them. But in terms of the SVC in the industry, we know the GDPR backwards and forwards. Every customer facing, or someone who has access to customer data, that person on Matchbook has to go through GDPR training. We believe in it. We adhere to it. I don't exactly what in your view is the SVC going to do that's going to override that?
Well, I guess a lot of people are just concerned about it, it impacting the overall liquidity with affordability, if they've spent some money at another provider. I mean, prime example was that there was that study earlier in the year from one of the academics that's sort of pushing for all this affordability, and they said they analysed 6.5 million Lloyds Bank statements, and they decided that X amount, but then when a follow-up question was, did you take into account withdrawals? And they were like, no. And that, I think, is the issue. So if somebody goes, they deposit £1,000 with you, £1,000 with Bet365, and then it goes onto their SCV rating, as it were, this person's lost 2,000. It's like, no, they may have just transacted it between the two. And they're worried about that.
That's a great argument. There's a lot of good points being made on that side as to where there's loopholes. I can only hope. I don't know how English law works. I can only hope.
I think this is part of the problem, to be honest, Jesse, as well.
Fair points. Yeah.
I think this is part of the problem because it's not particularly open how all this may work, and I don't know that I don't know that it will. But I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about, and it's very murky at the moment. I think that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from, really, just to clarity.
And I understand that we're going to be here. We're committed to the UK market. We're going to follow the rules, and we're going to hope in the meantime. That both sides realize that they have to make a compromise, that they have to work together. That's best for everyone. You do not want to be driving people to the black market, to unregulated. That is really bad for everybody. You do not want people to be unprotected here in the regulated market. I get it all. It can't be Matchbook's focus, right? Matchbook's focus is we're here. We want to be here within these rules. We want to
work with what you've got.
Yeah, the best experience.
Yeah, no, sure. I guess it's just one of those things. I guess on the back of people's mind is something to bear in mind. But because it's obviously a bad situation if somebody's like, it's considered that was a £2,000 loss when really that money is just sloshing back and forth. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I believe that net deposits is an important metric. Versus gross deposits. Yeah, I think it's an important metric. Well, anyone who gambles does, right? And that's the whole thing. But yes, this is going on right now. It's tough, but you've been around a long time. Gambling always gets tougher, and the more upside there is. 20 years ago, the most successful gamblers, all they could say is they're still alive and haven't busted yet. Now, there's massive upside. There's massive value in the industry. People have the ability to make life-changing amounts of money. And with that, comes tougher rules and a tougher game. And
double-edged sword with the technology. So I guess they're all I feel like I've given you a hard time there, but they're all the pressing questions that I had.
I mean, look, I know this is the industry, and it's always been tough to be a little bit different. And, people who look at gambling as something serious, people who want to be a smart sports bettor, people who want to use strategies that don't represent what the, Saturday punter does. Those are essentially, they're fringe, but there are fringe. Okay. There are niche because that's what an exchange offers. And that's what being an exchange means is us understanding that. But no, we're not.
It's refreshing to hear
the obligation.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear that it sounds like maybe your as a company as focus has changed a little bit. Obviously, you've got the commission changes, you've got the liquidities. Your main focus. You've made that quite clear. Is there anything else that you really want to share with people? About Matchbook, where it's going, why they should be using it. Essentially, obviously, Cheltenham's coming up.
I mean, I'm not lying when I say that there's value on our site. I know there's value there. Okay, if you are, if you like to bet horse racing, in-play soccer, greyhounds, enhanced specials, check it out for yourself. There is value on Matchbook. Not for everyone, and I think that we have, or we're working towards what an exchange user wants. If we don't have it, let us know. We're listening, right? Because this is our focus. This is our belief. This is the passion that most of the people that are, that's filled with Matchbook employees that they have about being a good exchange. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That sounds great, Jesse. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to add, we're happy to wrap it up there.
Well, I guess, my question for you is, why do you think Matchbook is still existing in the shadows? Do you think that people aren't giving it a try? Do you think that we're, um, are
Well,
we are
actually,
we
I'll tell you
are we
what.
letting ourselves down, or do we just need people? In my view, people need to try us out. And if we don't have what you want, you need to let us know why.
Well, that's an opportunity for anyone that's watching the video to let you guys know in the comments, I guess. From my point of view, it's probably been maybe slightly that dated view of, what you get used to, what you're comfortable with. Obviously, that is Betfair. That's where the majority of liquidity is. I know liquidity is the big issue for all exchanges. Aside from
It is,
that,
but I'll tell you what, it check it out, right? On a Saturday, an hour before a race, looking at the in-play soccer markets, check it out and see how it does compare. Our anecdotal feedback, what we're seeing is, yes, it's there. You're going to get the best price more often than not. You're gonna get the ability to match its size. The market does have price resistance. That's what we're trying to create.
well, look, if
So,
you now you've gone net commission. There's obviously the 0% with the various with Geeks Toy right now. There's no real reason not to try it, particularly if you're somebody who's paying sort of premium charge on Betfair's exchange. But I guess it was maybe, from my point of view, it was just being aware of some of those changes.
yeah, look, I'm not historically. I've never used actively used trading software. It is, but I understand that that is the way a lot of people, like with third party software. That's the best interface them to take advantage of the exchange, right? So we started up this with Geeks Toy. It's free to use on Matchbook. I'm not sure if it is everywhere. We've got the 0% commission with the bonus code Geeks Toy. That's there. I believe that we have most of what traders are looking for. Um,
Maybe it's just a
so,
case of giving it a go, and with Cheltenham and whatnot coming up, and Champions League final 16 soon, it's time to give it a go. But I'll
I hope
certainly have a
so.
look myself after off the back of this.
What markets are most important to you?
Racing markets, but it's the live shows and the liquidity. And I mean, even this time of year, it's poor on all exchanges this time of year. Racing's not really primarily focused, but as we go into March, Cheltenham certainly the flat following off the back of it, then it'll become a lot more interesting. But it's really down to liquidity, and then charges and extra commissions. But given what we know now from this call, it'd be
Yeah, well, look,
worth giving it a go. Certainly, I'll certainly give it a go.
DYOR, and let me know. We're happy about where we're going, and we know where we want to be. And yes, it is liquidity. That's what an exchange can be. I know you. Look, I watched a couple of interviews you do, and one of the interesting questions I thought, that you asked Jason Truss, you were saying, look, we all thought exchanges were going to take over the world. What do you still believe that? What's happened? And I'm one of those guys. I think the first exchange I was on was the World Sports Exchange, which I think can lay claim to being the first online betting exchange in the world. And then Betfair, Matchbook, seen it now. It is surprising, right? I think to some people that the exchanges haven't become totally dominant from a user point of view in the industry. But in many ways, the exchanges have taken over the industry because every single sports book bases their price
On the exchange.
That's the real power of an exchange, that it powers the market, right? That you have market confidence. So, what do I want the future to be? I want the future to be where the betting exchanges are the same as the financial exchanges. Half the money in the world bet on one side and half the money in the world bet on the other side of a market, and nobody blinks an eye because the integrity's there, the confidence is there, and everybody taking their cue from that. The sports books are going to continue to do their thing, but they are stronger because of the exchange prices. And if the liquidity's in the exchange, then you see that, right? You see that over-round transfer a little bit to the sports books, and that everything is based on how confident those markets are. There's some markets that aren't really on the exchange, and they're on the sports book as markets, the derivative markets, but nobody's going to get more than 20. Most people are going to get more than $1. Those markets need to get the market confidence where, yep, you can bet, 10,000 on a race, but you can also bet, 10,000 on this horse versus horse matchup. You can bet on player props and that kind of thing.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how it develops with the commission, and yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, we said about it earlier, but people watching this channel are crying out for an alternative option. I think a lot of the time, outages, extra charges, the awkwardness, and then of course all the recreational punters then being diverted to a sportsbook. So I guess one extra question would be: has Matchbook got any plans to release a sportsbook? I hope not.
We've got our hands full, right? I mean, that is, a very, let's say, an easy answer when you're looking at, oh, we need a higher margin, we're not low enough margin, but it's not our focus right now. With where we know we are in the industry in terms of user base, we believe there's massive opportunity there for us to present a good exchange, an exchange that people want and cater to exchange users. I don't see sportsbook adding to that. We don't have it in our plans right now. Obviously, there's other markets out there, other jurisdictions that don't allow exchanges. You could see some sort of hybrid model there. But for us right now, Matchbook here in the UK, we've got a lot of work to do still.
Perfect. Well, I shall watch keenly from the sidelines and see what's happening in some of those markets. Check out that liquidity.
All right, Ken. Look, and as I said, if you're watching, give us a try or check it out and let us know let us know. We're not blowing our trumpet.
Okay, thanks for coming on, Jesse. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks very much, Ken. Best luck. Good luck. Cheers.